After many decades chasing and jailing narcotic offenders for merely possessing substances such as marijuana, Parliament has set in motion a bill to reenact the Narcotics Control Commission law. One fundamental difference between the existing law and what is now being considered is that drug users and addicts will no longer be treated as criminals who get incarcerated, but persons requiring medical attention. Now, just to clarify, the new bill is not seeking to legalize marijuana or any narcotic substance for that matter. It is only to decriminalize its use. Addressing Parliament after the presentation of the report of the Select Committee working on the bill, Interior Minister Ambrose Derry explained the changes are to accommodate modern trends in fighting narcotics.
Mr. Speaker, the drug menace, as you recognize, is a very serious problem in the sub-region, and therefore there's a need for us to have a robust legal framework to deter traffickers and to take profit out of the crime to make it unattractive. Mr. Speaker, another key issue was the importance under this act to make drug addiction and use to be treated as a health issue, not just as a criminal offense. This development was never envisaged under the existing law, and so issues of drug use and addiction were treated merely as criminal offenses to be punished under the law. Under the new bill, there is now provision which is emanating from good practice adopted by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, so that there is treatment of drug use and addiction as a health-related issue, which will not make it possible for us to put in place facilities for treatment and rehabilitation of addicts. And this new development has clearly also been captured in our bill.
The ranking member of the committee and former Deputy Interior Minister James Agaga asked the House to expedite action on the bill.
Mr. Speaker, it is my prayer that the disease that afflicted the bill and made it impossible for it to be passed by the Chief Parliament will be cured by this House. Mr. Speaker, the bill raises very fundamental issues which should engage the attention of all. And those issues raised in the bill, Mr. Speaker, if the bill sees the day of light, will go a long way to help mitigate the long-standing suffering, unnecessary suffering, that we have subjected citizens of this country to through the enforcement of the existing legislation on narcotics drugs law enforcement, which, to say the least, has been very draconian and has not really helped so far as the rehabilitation of drug users and addicts is concerned.
Well, even though the bill is only seeking to decriminalize narcotics use and addiction, the debate about the legalization of marijuana in particular has been raging for a while now. Joy News has produced two documentaries, Herbs from God and Weed, Love and Law. In both documentaries, there appeared to be a shift in public opinion towards the legalization of marijuana, mainly because of its medicinal properties. We'll be seeking the views of one of the advocates for the legalization of marijuana, football coach Nana Agyeman. We know him as a football coach, but he is also the chairman of the Hemp Association of Ghana. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us.
Good evening.
We will be coming to you in a bit. Before then, though, here's an excerpt of the Hotline documentary I mentioned earlier, Weed, Love and Law. All right, so as I indicated earlier, we've been joined in the studio by Nana Agyeman. He's the chairman of the Ghana Hemp Association. And before we actually get into the conversation, it's important to lay it all out that what they do, or what the Ghana Hemp Association has been pushing for a while now, is the decriminalization of the use and addiction of Indian hemp. They're focusing on Indian hemp. They also want declassification of Indian hemp. But what the law is seeking to do is to decriminalize narcotics. And narcotics is not just about Indian hemp or weed or any of those. There's cocaine and all of that. But we're focusing the conversation on Indian hemp. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us once again. So this must be a little victory for you.
Well, I think that we wouldn't necessarily treat it as a victory. I think it's a first step. It's a very, very good and valid first steps. It shows that the members of Parliament and NARCOB and FDA, Ghana Standards Board, are beginning to understand and grasp the issues a bit more clearer. And I think that's a good step for everyone. But it's by no means a victory.
But what would you say is so terrible about the criminalization of the use of narcotics?
Well, the problem is...
Or let's focus on India.
Yeah, the problem is with cannabis, so to speak, is that there are a lot of people, there are thousands of people languishing in prisons at the moment who have been caught in possession of small amounts of cannabis for personal use. They've been given between 5 and 10 years. Total life destruction. Some of those people have come out from the university, they're graduates from the university. We all know, we're all young once. When you graduate from 4 years at the university, you're up and open to trying so many things. Unfortunately, you get caught, your bachelor's degree gets put on the shelf, your life now is a life behind bars for the next 10 years. The ramifications for family and friends and everything is wide sweeping.
I can understand all that.
It shouldn't be the case.
Yes, but those people who are coming out of the university, as you're making reference to, they would also be aware that the law is against the use of marijuana at the time. And so, right now, even as we speak, so they can't use marijuana and think that they're going to get away with it.
When you're younger, you try a lot of things, and I'll give you an example.
When you're young and you break the law,
let me give you some examples. Bill Clinton, when he was younger, he smoked weed. Yeah.
If
George
Bush
was
against the law and was arrested.
No, George Bush, when he was younger, he smoked weed. Barack Obama, when he was younger, he smoked weed, and they all made this candid.
It's still not an excuse.
Let me finish. They all made this candid revelation when they became the president of the United States of America, and we know that you're the first man for the world. Never mind just the United States of America, and they've got the laws in there as well. But what I'm trying to say to you is, when you're younger, you experiment. You take part in a lot of different things. It builds up your experience, whether it's against the law or within the law. And some people have experimented, they've been caught. And what we are saying, and what Parliament is now saying, is that, putting them, incarcerating them in prison for 10 years is destruction. You are destroying their lives for one mistake. And we know in this country, let's just be totally honest, people have stolen millions. They're in their house today. They're living nicely in East Legon. They've got their 4x4 and what have you. And they're going through a never-ending process of some court litigation and what have you. And they're not going to go to prison. But one spliff, and you'll go to prison for 10 years.
So this bill that they're considering at the moment seeks to decriminalize the use and addiction of narcotics. But you're saying that it's a good first step.
It's a good first step.
It doesn't suffice for you.
No,
what more would you want?
It doesn't suffice for me. Well, first and foremost, there's a cannabis family, and one part of the cannabis family, cannabis sativa, which is hemp, is solely industrial. We saw on the video there Samini saying that it just can't be correct for you to burn something that can make a pair of jeans. Now, industrial hemp can make everything. It can make the clothes you're wearing, the clothes I'm wearing, the table we're sitting around, etc., etc. It doesn't contain THC to the point where it's not considered to be industrial.
Right.
And as such, you don't smoke hemp. Now, you were saying Indian hemp. Now, you're saying Indian hemp because you don't understand, what cannabis is. So you just say Indian hemp. So,
and weed and marijuana.
So anytime you say Indian hemp, we think that you can smoke it, but you can't. You can't, because hemp is industrial. It's not something you smoke. You can make hemp oil for your skin. You can make CBD, which is drops for under your tongue to help you with depression, anti-inflammatory, etc., etc. and you can also make a whole host of things. It's totally industrial.
Right.
But it's been lumped together with cannabis indica, which carries the THC, the significant amounts of THC, and so we've just put a blanket ban across everything. Now, what we are saying as the Hemp Association, that is totally incorrect.
Right.
So let's declassify Indian hemp. Let's still have regulations, no problem, you know, and let's still have a regulatory body, no problem, but let's declassify that. Let's put our hands up and say, look, we've got it wrong. This has no THC.
Okay.
It shouldn't be classed as a narcotic drug because it isn't.
All right.
And now let the real debate begin about cannabis indica, which has the THC and also has fantastic medicinal properties too as well.
Okay, we hear that all the time. Thank you very much, Nana Ajimang. Nana Ajimang is chairman of the Ghana Hemp Association, and this bill seems to have the support of both sides of the House, and so it's almost certain that it is going to become law. But moving on to another big story.